what's going on? This is Matt again with the Atom 80. My 350 hour review. I didn't get around to a 300 hour review. So this is at 350 hours on my Atom 80. And it's going to be a short video because really nothing real new since actually the 250 hour review back in February. The only real issue I had since then was the oil seal on the flywheel side of the crankcase started leaking a little bit, so I had to replace that seal, and I'll show you some pictures of that. It wasn't too involved. It really just involved taking off the flywheel off the back, which requires a piston locker, a flywheel puller, etc. So I'll show you pictures of that. It wasn't too hard. Putting the seal in, you've got to be pretty careful, and I'll explain that. But other than that, 350 hours, no real issues. You'll notice in my 250 hour review video, I replaced, just before that video, I had replaced the tip and the elbow of the exhaust. And about 20-30 hours ago, I did notice there's some oil starting to seep out of there. And so I think that's just going to be a thing for Atom 80s about every 80 hours or so. You're going to start getting some leakage around these rivets and around the seams. And it's really nothing huge. Just wipe the oil off after the flights, and then at some point you may have to replace the internals of the exhaust, but there's videos on how to do that. So again, thanks for tuning in. I'll cut now to the flywheel maintenance, and yeah, take care. All right, we'll just go over some things you'll need to pull the flywheel and change any of these seals. This is the seal that's on the back of actually the front and the back of the crankcase. And yeah, it just started leaking over time. You'll see the screw in there I used to help pull it out. I'll explain that in a minute. But anyway, so this here is a piston locker. You put this in where your spark plug goes, and it keeps the piston from rotating or going up and down, which keeps the flywheel from turning, which allows you to remove the nut that's on the back of the flywheel that holds it on. So you get that from anywhere, Sky Sports, Glider Sports. One thing I would suggest, and I'll do next time, is right on the top there, it's flat. It did leave a little bit of a mark on the top of the piston. I was kind of weirded out by that, but it hasn't really, I haven't noticed any change in performance or anything. But I think what I'm going to do next time I use this is just put a little bit of a felt pad or something on the bottom of that so it doesn't mark up the top of the piston. My piston right now has over 250 hours on it anyway, so I haven't noticed any problems with that. This here is just like a press, so when you get the new seal, this is almost the exact diameter of that seal there. So you use this and a mallet to tap in the new seal. And this here is the flywheel puller. So basically you take the nut off the flywheel, you screw this into the flywheel, and then you screw this bolt in the middle, and it basically pushes on the center, and it pops the flywheel off. Again, got this from Sky Sports. I think altogether these two tools together are $40. Makes the job a lot easier, and now that you have them, you'll be able to do it more often. So just the procedure for pulling the seal out, you got to be extremely careful. So this seal, this is the side. This side here faces outward. This is the inside. So you'll notice in here, there's a groove. And the trick is you want to pre-drill a hole. This is I believe it's a 1.5 millimeter drill bit. And you want to basically drill the hole right in between these two lines here. Let's see if you can get that better. See, there's kind of several lines on right on the outer and the middle ring. You drill right in the middle of it. And the reason you want to be pretty accurate with that is if you go too far this way or out, you could risk scratching your case, which would be pretty bad. You'd have pretty much leakage, and at that point the case may be shot. Or if you're on the inner side, you risk scratching your actual crank, which then again you'll have leakage, and it's a bad day. So you want to take your time and really make sure you have the right size drill bit, and that you're really careful drilling straight up and down. And just as it So there's metal on the inside of this seal. There's metal. You're actually drilling through metal. It's rubber encased in metal, or metal encased in rubber, excuse me. So as soon as you get through that metal, it'll start to go in. You can't push too hard. If you push too hard, you're going to go into the bearing, because right behind this seal is your actual crankcase bearing, and you don't want the drill bit to go down into those ball bearings and scratch those either. So it's a pretty delicate operation. Also, to help you out, I put Vaseline or grease over where I was drilling. So as you're drilling, the metal shavings that come up don't fall when you pull up the seal. Don't fall back into the crank bearing, and get shavings in your bearing. So you just slowly, as you're drilling through the metal, the shavings get caught in the Vaseline or the grease, and it makes it a lot cleaner. So as soon as you drill that hole, then you take a small wood screw and, you take the wood screw and put it back in that hole. Let's see if I can do this while holding the camera. It's a pretty low budget video. Anyway, you end up hopefully with a straight up and down screw like that. And then you just use that screw and a nice pair of pliers that have some grooves in it, so it gets nice grip. And then you use that, and you basically, pull out the seal. It would be further in, but then this just gives you something to pull the seal out with. And then once you pull the seal out, you're off to the races. Get the new seal and press it in with your seal press. One of the things I forgot to mention was when you're putting in the new seal, do not go past flush on the case. There's nothing stopping it from going further in. So if you push too hard, it'll go past flush and you'll have to pull it out and put a new seal in. I actually did this on my first attempt. And once you're done putting the flywheel on, of course, make sure you check your torque specs and you torque your flywheel to 55 Newton meters. Something else I forgot to mention, so some of you may recognize this. This is what Vittorazi calls the multi-puller, which I was under the impression would pull just about anything on the motor. And it does, except for the thing I wanted to pull, which was the flywheel. So this is not, the pieces parts in here have a lot of stuff going on. It'll pull your clutch, it'll pull your hub. I don't know what else, but anyway, it does not pull your flywheel, so you got to buy the flywheel puller for that. While I'm making this video, I'll talk about my 300-hour maintenance I did on it, and really it was a complete overhaul with respect to the top end. So the piston rings and and of course the cylinder, the head gasket. I didn't replace the piston. I'll do that most likely at 400. And flushed out the tank. All of the fuel lines were replaced, all the membranes, of course, in the carburetor, all the carburetor gaskets. I actually replaced my pull starter. I had my original pull starter in for 300 hours. It never failed. I just figured I was on borrowed time, so I might as well put a whole new pull starter in, and I keeping the old one as a backup in case this one fails on me. And new electrical wires. Figured replace the kill switch wire after about 200 hours. And yeah, that's really about it. So, and then of course a full clean and inspect of all the other various parts. So yeah, I've been super happy with the motor to date, and really I'm looking forward to another couple hundred hours on it. When I first bought the engine, I was looking at maybe 250 hours of maybe when I would be looking to get something new, but really there's really no reason to. The next big thing will be at 400 hours. I do intend to do, call it the major overhaul. The lower end bearings, the case bearings, probably a new crank, new rod. The crank and the rod come together. It's kind of, once you open it up, people ask me a lot, like, why would you replace the crank if it's not giving you any problems? But if you're already in there, if you've already got the case split, it's $120 or so for the new crank and rod. And if those failed 20 or 30 hours after I got it buttoned up and destroyed the engine, I'd be pretty mad. So it's kind of insurance. Of course, the case bearings inside the case, you replace those. I'll probably also replace the piston. The piston in here is, got 300 hours on it now, or it will have 300 hours on it by then. So I'll probably replace the piston, of course, the ring, and also the cylinder itself. Most likely replace the cylinder on this 300-hour maintenance. I did notice there is some wear and tear on it, nothing major. But again, it's like another $100, right? It just it adds up. But total in parts, I'll probably be in for about $500 of parts. But really, when it's all said and done, it really will be almost a brand new engine at that point. And vice buying a new engine. So I go back and forth with that. Whether to buy a second engine, buy a brand new engine, keep this one as a backup, or just to rebuild this one. So stay tuned. Not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm kind of leaning towards the rebuild. So anyway, thanks.